guys, it's Britt. Today we're here to talk about James Charles. I want to do a full breakdown, kind of a full timeline of who James is and why, in my opinion, he is somebody who does not deserve the platform that he continues to stand on. He is somebody who has manipulated young fans, specifically young boys, and he has been extremely problematic. But I want to encapsulate everything in one video for you guys because sometimes I feel like James Charles is one of those influencers who, when people talk about him, they've almost forgotten just how grossly inappropriate and problematic he has been. So I figured that I would encapsulate everything in a longer form video, and I will link this video in future videos where I talk about James so that people can be brought fully up to speed in a single video. Who is he? How did he get his start? And when did he become so grossly problematic that he became a main topic on drama and commentary channels? So if you're interested, please keep watching. All right, you guys, so this might be a little bit of a longer video, but I know that y'all have been asking for longer form content from me, so hopefully this checks some of those boxes. I don't know how long the video will be, but I am going to try to stick to the point and not ramble too much. But when I say a statement of James Charles does not deserve a platform, that can sound pretty dramatic to some people. But I think by the end of this video, most people will understand why I say that with such certainty and why I'm able to say that with a straight face and not budge on my opinion. James is 24 years old as of the time of me filming this. Both of his parents were, they both worked. He certainly wasn't born into, like, people say you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth or something like that. That's definitely not James Charles' story. They were what I would consider kind of like upper middle class in the state of New York. He was attending Bethlehem High School in his hometown, and he really started to admire makeup artistry and doing makeup, so much so that his dad really, caught on to this and ended up building him a kind of like a makeup, like a glam room in their house. And, that was his makeup studio where he would do makeup, so on and so forth. He really found something that he loved, which I think is really important for young kids to discover something that they are really passionate about. And if it's makeup, if it's sports, if it's, something tech wise, like, kid finds something that they really like, I'm here for it all day. In 2015, after James, got more comfortable with his love of makeup and doing it in his makeup studio at home, he finally decided to go ahead and launch his YouTube channel. And obviously this was a decision that turned into something very fruitful for him. When James launched his YouTube channel, he also decided to hop on Instagram, which is pretty norm, with social media. If somebody is going to have a YouTube channel, most likely they're going to be on Instagram or TikTok or Twitter. James Charles decided to utilize his senior yearbook photo session as a way to get some attention on the social media that he had launched recently. And he posted this photo right here. I'm sure many of y'all have seen it. It says, "So I retook my senior photos and brought my ring light with me so my highlight would be poppin'. I love being extra," with a skull emoji. And initially people, thought this was just so wild and crazy. They liked it. This turned out to not be true. So we're starting out the gate with misleading followers, which is pretty on brand for influencers. Thomas Halbert exposed James Charles by saying, "James Charles, do you want me to post the convo about you editing your yearbook pic and how the ring light tweet is fake, since you want to switch up. And this was shared on February 28th of 2017. James Charles, recall when you emailed the yearbook company asking if you could edit your photos? Your come up is a scam, sis. I rebuke your tomfoolery. And I know that Thomas Halbert has been problematic as well. But obviously at this point in time, this was going viral and Thomas had thoughts about it. So those thoughts were shared in these tweets. The senior photos also landed James on the Ellen show. He was continuing to get popular and building up a really strong fan base. James Charles, from the get-go, has always had people that will just support him no matter what. No matter what he says, no matter what he does, he has that core fan base that will just refuse to see past anything that he does, even if it's illegal or extremely creepy and weird. He just simply has those people, and I think a lot of influencers do. But James Charles is definitely a kind of exhibit A example of an influencer that has that core fan base that will excuse any and everything that they do. By the time James turned 17, he was also given a huge opportunity from CoverGirl, and he was their first male beauty ambassador. And I'm sure that a lot of you heard of him being the first cover boy instead of cover girl, and that was a really huge opportunity. So the cover girl thing happens, and during this time, he's continuing to build his YouTube platform, and his YouTube channel in 2019 had reached 10 million subscribers, which is a huge milestone to reach in that short period of time. So this was, you know, also a period of time when beauty gurus were everything. Like, people were consuming a ton of beauty content, and James was doing something different and obviously built up a really large and loyal fan base. Even though during this period of time, while he's working with celebrities and making, you know, his YouTube following up to 10 million and doing stuff with CoverGirl and going on Ellen, he was also being extremely problematic while simultaneously building up his YouTube channel. And he did this tweet, and I could not believe that he actually did this, but it's the tweet about Ebola. And some of y'all might have seen this happen in real time, but essentially he was going on a trip to Africa, and he tweeted out, "I can't believe we're going to Africa today. OMG, what if we get Ebola? James, we're fine. We could have gotten it at Chipotle last year." So obviously, super gross. Like, don't be like a James Charles. Trying to make a joke about something like this that is a health crisis that takes people's lives, it is not funny. You don't joke about Ebola, you don't joke about AIDS or HIV, you just don't do that. But James Charles, because he was getting so much attention and this influencer train was kind of taking off very quickly for him, I also think that he, from very early on, just kind of thought, I can do whatever I want to do because my YouTube channel is growing and I'm getting spots on Ellen and I'm working with CoverGirl, so I'll just do whatever I want to, and that's exactly what he did. There were also other tweets that were exposed during this period of time, because once people saw the Ebola thing, they obviously looked through the rest of his tweets and exposed other ones like, "I wish I was a chubby black woman who sang in a barbershop style a cappella group." Another one, "Wow, I really wanted a cute Minion sweatshirt for $10, but no, they didn't have my size. Stupid Indian man on the boardwalk." It really speaks to a level of self-awareness that he didn't have. He really had this ego that was being quickly inflated by the people that were following him online and the brands that were willing to work with him and platform him. And I just think that it's disgusting, because he not only said these things, but he said them, was called out for them, and ignored them, and continued to become massively successful on social media, which is so scary to me. Accountability culture does not exist. It does not exist 99% of the time. Very few influencers will do something that is distasteful and actually take full accountability and learn and grow from it. We usually just see them ignore it, or even better, double down and make fun of the people who are calling them out. During this period of time is also when Dramageddon happened. I am not going to go over the whole Jeffree, Manny, Laura, Nikita situation because that has been covered far and wide. I want to focus on the more serious scandals that James got himself involved in. Specifically, I want to focus on the inappropriate sexual nature of him preying on his young fans. But quickly, I will hit on Marlena Stell because this was his first like bratty, totally diva, entitled brat moment. Marlena is the owner and the founder of Makeup Geek Cosmetics. Makeup Geek had a huge voice in kind of the early to mid 2010s, and they were a really big makeup brand, and Marlena did it all on her own. In November of 2018, Marlena shared filming today for a special documentary that airs in 2019 with Netflix, and James just could not take this and just let her have her own moment and be happy for her. He replied and said, "This woman knows nothing about the industry other than blaming her bad business decisions and personal issues on influencers. Netflix, this is absurd, and I'd love to get in a room together to show you the non-biased outline I've already made on this subject that documents all sides." So obviously, James, you're not even 20 years old. What do you know about the makeup industry? What do you know about the makeup industry aside from having a CoverGirl partnership handed to you because you were doing large numbers at that point in time and had a popular YouTube channel that they wanted to have their products advertised on? James Charles did not know anything about the makeup industry, and I think that this really just was one of the first examples of him being just an entitled little brat and having, like I said, he was getting famous online and his ego was being quickly inflated. And I think that this literally proves the point that his ego was growing faster than he could even recognize. Marlena did end up responding to James's little egotistical meltdown and said, "James, you're not even 21 years old. You've never produced makeup. You've never started a brand from the ground up. I'm sorry. This feels like it was stolen, but I did not seek this opportunity. When you've been in this industry for 10 plus years, then tell us about your experience." So I'm here for Marlena. I remember when all of this happened. I'm here for her standing up for herself. There is no reason for James to have had this cringe-worthy, bratty moment so publicly. He should have just kept his mouth shut. But that is a pattern with James, not keeping his mouth shut when he should be listening and learning instead of speaking and wanting everything to come his way so nobody else gets the attention. So April of 2019, this is when things start to go from just being bratty and entitled and having little meltdowns to things being inappropriate and very tough to listen to. So if y'all know where this is going and it's upsetting for you, please click off the video. But I will try to discuss this in a way that is digestible and not extremely triggering. But I also understand if the topic as a whole is upsetting, please take care of your mental health first. But this is when we meet Gage Gomez, and Gage Gomez was at Coachella with James in 2019. After being at Coachella in 2019, James put out a tweet and said, "Nope, unfortunately, I'm still very single. This boy played me for months on end and is a disgusting con artist. I'm thankful I have my friends with me to protect me." So automatically putting himself in the seat of and wanting his followers to feel bad for him as if he is an innocent angel in all of this, but the facts would be exposed and we would see that James was using his power and his influence to engage inappropriately and try to pressure people to do things that they were not interested in doing, which is a pattern for James Charles. This is when Gage responded via a YouTube video, and I'll insert a clip of it, but he essentially said, you know, he was telling James the whole time that he wasn't interested. He wasn't interested in experimenting with anything along those lines. And, you know, James proceeded to get extremely upset because he was being denied. So for me, this is again a pattern. Like, if things don't go James Charles's way, then you're going to hear about it and he's going to throw a hissy fit and a tantrum. He also said, you know, he tried to play his emotions and push his emotions onto me, guilting me, everything along those lines. And he also confirmed that, you know, he is not a con artist and James Charles was simply lying. James was the one that purchased the Coachella tickets, and Gage decided that him and James would be better off as friends. I think James has a long history of trying to buy affection from people, and again, this is also a pattern. James has a lot of patterns that are extremely transparent, and you know, you can't like buy somebody a plane ticket or buy somebody a trip to Coachella or buy somebody some, you know, expensive designer item and automatically expect them to do what you want them to do. That is not how life works. And because James has been in this kind of influencer bubble for such a long time, literally from the age he was, you know, 16, 17, he just never really had to learn that, and the people around him never taught him that you can't just buy people into doing what you want them to do. That's not the way it works. After Gage came out with his YouTube story, obviously it started to go viral online, and this gave people who went to high school with James the confidence to come out and share another story about James. So this person on Twitter said, when James Charles catfished the entire soccer team in high school pretending to be a girl so that he could get inappropriate pics, so glad they know that he is still Tory. And obviously this is like just beyond disgusting, and this in itself alongside Gage's story should have been enough to drop James Charles down a few pegs. In my opinion, there is no reason why somebody showing this type of behavior should be continue to be platformed and continue to be sent huge PR packages and sent to big events and, you know, flown for influencer trips. And it really, for me, goes to show how greedy and money hungry these brands are to just simply, they don't care about your, you know, how bad you are or how weird you are. If you can pull numbers, they will continue to work with you no matter what your track record is. And I think it's disgusting. Now, I will glaze over Tati Westbrook's Bye Sister video because that definitely set off, like, that was a pivotal moment in the beauty guru space. And Tati came forth and shared that, you know, James Charles was incredibly inappropriate. He was talking about things that were extremely uncomfortable. You know, at her birthday dinner, I think that most of us saw the Bye Sisters video. If you didn't see it and you want to watch it, I'll find a link to a re-uploaded version and link it down below. But all of this happened. Tati came out because James was using her competitor's hair vitamins. We all know about Sugar Bear Hair and Halo and how that unfolded. Was it petty for her to allow that to set her off? Maybe a little bit, but I'm actually glad that she came out and could confirm this is how James is, because the things that she shared in that video have only repeated over the last few years. We have continued to see this pattern that she confirmed from James over and over again. And of course, we also know that Jeffree Star came out and said that James Charles is a danger to society. Everything Tati said is 100% true. So after all of this came out, James came out with his No More Lies video. He basically tried to say that people were just lying, saying things like, I have never and will never use my fame, money or power to manipulate or get any actions from a guy. That's disgusting. And the fact that Tati brought this up blows my mind. I just don't believe James. I don't believe James. I think that he has been an egotistical jerk from the get-go, and that's just how I feel about it. We also know that the waiter Sam also came forward with his recollection of what happened. I think it's pretty wild considering that Gage and Sam and Tati and all of this was happening and people were in James Charles' comment section still glorifying him and celebrating him and saying that people respected him for the things that he said in that video. That to me is absolutely wild. So now let's get into the part of why I am saying that James Charles does not deserve a platform and he doesn't deserve the respect that social media continues to feed to him. I want to talk about DMs because this is where James just completely went from being creepy to being an actual danger, in my opinion. The first person we're going to talk about is Stephen Harrison. Stephen went ahead and exposed that James had messaged him multiple times. James would send these like weird compliments to Stephen, even though Stephen was very obviously a married man, which is so bizarre. Stephen responded and said, "My wife is so hot." And James, instead of just saying, you know, that's the end of the conversation, responded and said, "You could have just accepted the compliment. Ha 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 ha. Have a lovely day." And Stephen responded and said, "I take it as more of a compliment when someone says nice things about my marriage and my wife, but thanks anyway. Have an awesome day, man." James constantly is trying to get into people's DMs and using his fan base as a dating pool. And I've said this for the longest time, and he continues to do it over and over again. He was also called out by Zara Larson after James slid into her boyfriend's DMs. This is where Isaiah enters the picture. This was in 2021, and he made a video saying that James made advances onto him. And at the point in time when this happened, Isaiah was only 16. 16 seems to be a repetitive number for James, and basically James was asking for uncensored photos of Isaiah, so soliciting those kinds of photos from a minor is criminal. James then sent inappropriate images of himself to Isaiah, which is so grossly inappropriate and disgusting. Like I said, these things are criminal for a reason, and James Charles has continued to get away with this behavior over and over again, and it really scares me that he has been allowed to get away with it for this long.
His body, explicitly, he sent me multiple after that, and I'll post them now. I was getting really uncomfortable, so I told him my age. I told him I'm 16. Meanwhile, he's 21. He's a grown man. And then he proceeds to say, "Oh, but I didn't even get to see meaning my body." And after telling him, like, no, like, I'm not going to send it to you, he kept on asking for pictures and videos of body hair and me flexing and stuff. He proceeded to ask to FaceTime me, which I then said no to, and then I asked why. And this is what he said. It's sad to say that I can't even look up my biggest influence the same.
A 16-year-old named Isaiah came forward with allegations against James Charles, saying that he sent him inappropriate pictures and also asked if he could send him videos and pictures. James put out this tweet with a statement saying that none of it was true, and he said he was 18 years old, and now Isaiah has responded. He said his age has been in his TikTok bio for 11 weeks now, and he's never changed that. Someone responded and said, "Contact the police," and he said, "I am." He tweeted at James saying that he was the one that blocked James, and that even after James knew how old he was, he said, "I wish the timeline could be sped up so that you could be 18. Isaiah also said that James added him on TikTok and on Instagram, where it said in his bio that he was 16 years old.
James Charles is a monster. James, of course, went on to deny the allegations from Isaiah and tried to say that Isaiah was the one sending the images to James. I find this to be a pattern with YouTubers. They're called out for something inappropriate, like soliciting photos, and they'll turn it around on the fan and say, oh no, the fan was actually sending me photos. But there's proof that that's not true. There was another 15-year-old child that came forward with a similar story from what Isaiah had shared, and James here sending snaps saying, oh, okay, good night, cutie. Never an appropriate conversation to have with a child. And James Charles does it over and over again. I don't even understand why he hasn't been tried criminally. I don't.
15-year-old boy came forward with very, very similar experiences with James. This 15-year-old child who shared screenshots of James being flirtatious with him and just overall carrying on a very inappropriate conversation with the child.
James then went on to send messages to Isaiah like, I strongly recommend that you keep my name out of your mouth or we're going to have a major problem. So what's the deal? Are you threatened because somebody is telling the truth and they have the proof that they have presented that you are a creepy douchebag? Now is when the holding myself accountable video comes from James, and this video is deleted. He deleted it from his channel, but it has been re-uploaded, which I will also link down below. But he basically goes on to say that allegations were made against him and it's important for him to come and talk to his followers about it. And then he says things like these conversations should have never happened. Now he's gonna do research into people's social media. If he would have done that from the get-go, it would have shown their real ages in the first place. This is so embarrassing. It's embarrassing to admit this, but I think I have to. Like, James, you knew what you were doing, and James, like a lot of other YouTubers, has a really young fan base, and he pulled the wool over a lot of their eyes because they just continue to support him. Another victim that came forward is FaZe Sway, and James in 2020 said, you look kind of good. At the time, he was 16. He said, oops, I take it back. I had no idea you were 16. I just think that James thinks that he could get away with this forever, and constantly when these people come out and tell their truth and present the evidence, he can just say that they're coattail riding haters and they're making up allegations against him. When all of this started to unfold, James's brother, who I mentioned in the beginning of this video, Ian, also cut ties with him. And I know that, you know, families go no contact for multiple different reasons, but I think the timing is really interesting because in 2023 he said that his brother hasn't spoken to him in 2 years, so that would run it back to like 2021, and that's when a lot of this started to really hit the fan. And it was person after person after person that was coming forward with stories about how grossly inappropriate James was. His name is David Stoughton, and James was asking for inappropriate photos of this guy as well. James sent this video saying, you're not, like things like, you're not allowing people to actually get to know you. Whenever it comes up being in a relationship with somebody, and applying all of this pressure to get inappropriate images of somebody who was not interested in him.
Another 16-year-old came forward with proof that James was messaging them inappropriately. James was not only flirting with this child, but he was asking for physical favors from this child. Intimate favors. James even went as far to ask this 16-year-old child where he did and did not grow body hair, whether or not he shaved his body hair, continuously pressured this 16-year-old to send photos of himself undressed. Skipping forward about a year and a half, in January of 2023, very recently, James was accused of sending unwanted, inappropriate, and provocative photos to a creator named David Stoughton. In the midst of James texting this creator, David Stoughton, James began to pressure him to FaceTime, and David was not interested in FaceTiming with James.
Oh my god, David, you're being annoying. Or like, oh my god, David, you're being annoying. Or like, oh my god, David, you're being fucking annoying. Because all three of those are completely different, like, emotions that you cannot see through text. You only get to actually experience those through a FaceTime call or through being in person. Even over the phone, you still miss out on things because you're missing somebody's facial expressions, right? So, because you refuse to hang out with people or because you refuse to FaceTime, you're not allowing people to actually get to know you as like a human being, and that's a massive problem whenever it comes to being in a relationship with someone.
Aside from James continuing this entire time to be hugely financially successful and people continuing to support him, brands continuing to support him, him launching his stupid painted makeup collection, there was very recently another person who came forward, and that is the last person that I'm gonna go over with you guys here. So this last set of allegations comes from Matthew Lawrence 123, and it was published on November 9th. And he captioned this video, "Good luck on your new palette, honey." And he, goes over the timeline, how he was underage and James was trying to have conversations with him.
Story time on how I was one of James Charles' victims. Now, this happened almost exactly 3 years ago now. I was 16, just had turned 16 a few months before, and some people are going to be like, why are you making this video right now? I'll tell you right fucking now why. Because I have been seeing some stuff about him, like, unveiling a new palette or something, like, next week, and some people are like, I know he's controversial, but, like, his makeup is just so good. He's a fucking freak. Like, he needs to be locked away. Everything that has ever been said about him online regarding this topic, I 100% believe because I have first-hand knowledge. So here we go. November 7th, 2020, 9:24. Age check. You're thinking, could be harmless. He's just asking for my age. Yeah, it wasn't. So this is a really complicated but also uncomplicated situation, which is why I never talked about it because I just didn't have the heart to. But basically, he DM'd me that, and I responded and I said, I'm a very mature 16. Now I understand right off the bat, I shouldn't be talking like that. I should not be egging someone on like this, or like trying to like entice them. That wasn't my intent, I'm sure, but that's definitely how it came off, and I understand that now. But that being said, no matter what, I was a child, and he was like 22. And it was also James Charles. So you're 16 and you're seeing this and it's like insane. I didn't know what to do. My brain was so like, it was empty. I had no thoughts going through. I had no idea what to do. I already said that, but it's so true. Whatever. I really at the end of the day, there's nothing I could have said. He should have just stopped the conversation. He was the adult. So we had like maybe 5 texts back and forth on Instagram. It was age check. I'm a very mature 16. Oh, damn. Don't want to catch a case. And then after that, it was just like kind of stupid. Like that should have been end of conversation. But then he proceeded to add me on Snapchat. So this is 10:23. So an hour after this, or after I had responded to him and had the conversation. Now, again, you could just be like, oh, he could have added you on Snap before he got your age and thought maybe you were 18, like whatever. No, this was, I'm telling you right now, this was after that. So you can believe that or not. But he then proceeded to snap me, and we snapped for a while, didn't really talk much, like whatever. Then I get this snap one day. Now, this is November 24th, 2020. James Charles. I don't know if this was the actual snap. I don't have any screenshots of my snaps, but I opened this snap and I swear to God, it was a full ass pic of like him in a mirror, something, whatever. And I was just like, oh, what the fuck? To which he responded, what did I send? I said, you just sent a child your ass pic, actually. And then I kid you not, he said, oops, sorry. That was for my kitty girls group chat. Or maybe someone else. I don't know. Sorry. Blocked me immediately. Right then and there. And that's all I have to say on the topic. That's all I need to say. I don't really care if anyone believes me. I was in the situation. I know what happened to me. I know that people might want to try to blame me for saying what I said to him, but like, I was a child. He had the upper hand. He needed to have not done what he did, and he did it anyway. And he needs to reap the consequences. And yeah, maybe people should stop supporting him or something.
There have been so many people come out with similar stories about James. They can't all be just wanting to get famous. In fact, I would say the exact opposite, because I would think that telling these stories, they can be embarrassing for the victims. They can be uncomfortable for the victims to share this publicly, not knowing how people are going to respond, not knowing if James Charles fans are going to, you know, come out with the pitchforks and do all kinds of crazy stuff on behalf of James. So I don't buy into the idea of people just wanting clicks and views by using James Charles. James Charles is not as relevant as he once was, and I choose to believe these people because they have shown their interactions with James. So with all of the people that have come forward sharing their stories about James, or their experiences, I should say, why is he not canceled, and why has he not been permanently deplatformed? Because that's the part that really bothers me about all of this, is there's so many people that have come out and said James is an inappropriate creep. Here is the proof, and he continues to be successful on platforms. So I know this video was a lot, but like I said, I wanted to encapsulate everything from the beginning through this last individual who came forward, so that everything is in a single video, and I can stand on this video and say, when I tell you guys that James Charles does not deserve a platform or any of the success that is sent his way, this is why. But I want to know how you guys feel about this. Do you feel like people have kind of let James off easy? Do you feel like, you know, drama channels should cover him more often? How do you feel about everything? Drop it down below. So for now, if you like the video, please leave a like and a comment. And if you'd like to see more from me in the future, please subscribe. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.